Hello world and welcome to I Can See the Futura. We are on video number 3 of this month's series where we are working on a project we named WidZof. Just a quick reminder what WidZof is and what we went over last week in the video when we did the wireframes is it's an app that will help improve your memory, help you so that you don't forget things. Essentially what it lets you do is enter in content, save it, and then it will automatically remind you based on that Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. So those points where your memory starts to dip, it'll ping you and let you know, hey, come back to this content so you don't forget it. Basically what we did with the wireframes was a quick sketch of, okay, we need sign up, we know we need login, we need some sort of dashboard with all the items, and we want to be able to add new items in as well as make new collections that those items are in. And ultimately we need to be able to look at, when you're pinged, you want to be able to open that item itself and see sort of where you are in the repetition of which step you're on until it's solidified in your memory and any information that you've added. One of the things we kind of discussed and changed was, okay, well, what's our main priority? Our main priority when you come to that dashboard actually isn't looking at a list of all of the items themselves. It's being able to create something new, because in reality, you find some new information. That's actually how you really want to use it. Create something new, and then we'll remind you to come back to that post, to that item. So Teresa has been working on the design, so we can run through that. What we're using specifically to manage our sketch files is Abstract. It's really cool. I haven't really used it much in the past, but it is a versioning software essentially that helps you create versions of your actual sketch files. So version control in the same way that Git works and GitHub works for version control of your code files. This is version control of your sketch design files, and it definitely I can see being a lifesaver. I don't know, Teresa, you can talk a little bit about this process for you too, but for me, designing anything, I always end up with cool, here's this folder and the current version I'm on, and then here's a million files, version names and not knowing what's what. I don't know, huge problem for me. So this kind of solves that.
Yeah, and it's basically a time machine for your sketch files, which is really great.
Yeah.
Also work with Photoshop, works with that program too.
I don't think yet. I think it is just Sketch. But basically, here we are, we're logged into our I Can See the Futura account that we're both on, and we have our project here, WidZof. What you have is your master file. So we have our master sketch file that is, always the current state of the app. And then you pull down a copy of that and make a branch. And Teresa's done that with pulling down from the original copy into design. And then you can, change, update these, and then commit them to push them back up to the master. So yeah, it's really, really cool. We have we can have multiple, files kind of going at the same time. I can be working on something and you can, and then we can both merge those branches back up and have that one, this is the source, this is the truth or whatever. So yeah, let's run through some of what you've started to design, and sort of for the rest of this video, the idea will be that we will just kind of talk through what's here, make notes on things that we want to change. The wireframes were pretty rough. They didn't go into that much detail. So a lot of that thought process, Teresa, you have been working on while you've been designing. So we can just kind of push that a little further and figure it out. So let's start with just, simple sign up page. Do you want to talk a little bit about the design?
Cool. Yeah. So this is my second pass at it. So I've already done one pass, and then I sent this to Chelsea. I got some notes, and then this is current updated version. I don't know, WidZof kind of just inspired me to have like this encyclopedia, like slightly quirky aesthetic, but also still I wanted it to feel current and modern. Um, and so this is kind of what I ended up with. This would be, a new user, you come and sign up. I thought it would be really fun to have rotating like random facts on things on the right hand side. And this would update every single time you sign in. So let's see. Most of the navigation I put on the side so that you could have just like you can maximize the middle space, which I think will be clear why when we get into the collections.
Definitely. So just some quick notes that I'm seeing, like little details of things like this. We would want it to say sign up versus sign in. Just these are just like little notes, and then like the indentation on this password line up. So that's just, those aren't really like anything that significant to change, but yeah, this is cool. And also maybe we probably wouldn't want settings on this page because settings would be in relationship to your account, right?
Yeah.
No settings on sign up. So those would be those quick notes. But yeah, did you want to change anything else? I feel like this is a great, I love the design of this, and I really think it's fun to actually have the navigation on the side here. Because it just plays with this. I can imagine using this, a lot on my iPad or something, and like I can feel like how nice this would be as like a quick kind of entry to it.
Yeah, I kind of like it big. So the login, it's basically the same treatment.
Yeah, I would say it's the same. Again, let's say settings on the login. So we just keep that note. Like this thing's really cool about Abstract is like just being able to comment directly. And so yeah, these are the ones that you've already changed and committed the new version of it. So it's kind of cool. It like keeps that like record of it based on the actual commit. Yeah, login, sign up. It could be fun to like do something like you did on the sign up. Just like you said, let's get you signed up. It could be fun to like keep playing that concept. Oops, I did not mean to close it, everyone. It could be fun to keep playing with that concept and have it say
that. Yeah, like make it playful.
Yeah. Let's go into the files again. And into master, we'll say login. Yeah, right? Like keep that going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good note.
And playful stuff.
It's so funny. WidZof is sending me notifications.
Oh, every time I change it in Abstract. I didn't know that you have it open, so it does that. That's cool. It pings you. It's like, hey. So let's see. Inside of the collections, I should start here, maybe. Yeah, do you want to talk through this design?
Yeah, I think this is a good starting point. So, last time when we were talking about this, we thought that this would be the window which you would come into most often. So, because you want to add a new subject that you want to learn. So, should I talk about the functioning? I mean, I think basically I wanted as much space as possible for you to input information because I thought that was the most important thing. And then on the right hand side, next to the navigation there are 2 blocks. and this is something that I think we're going to work through in this video. Um, but those two blocks are referencing basically different ways to categorize the information that you want to memorize. So you have a subject. Once you have a subject, you'll name it, but then you'll also put it into a bigger folder, which is your collection, which
Yeah.
is just like you will name it whatever you want. So there's another frame that shows a little bit more of that as an example.
Yeah.
I think it's
on the next one. Let's look at this stuff first, and then we'll go to that one and talk mainly about that. I'm just going to make this note here. Since we said log in, we should say log out instead of sign out, just like consistency kind of thing. And then we can do, I think, to make this, so both of these are clear to me. Even that first design you had where it didn't have like the box around it and it was just the two, um, I feel like that was nice because it looks more like a full notepad, like you're writing on everything versus like in the little box. Was there a reason why you changed it to this kind of style?
um yes. I put this in a box purely because I would prefer it to be on a white background, but I think it's not very clear visually what's happening for the
Yeah.
user unless you are able to use this web app. Like it's hard to understand that like this is a place where you're supposed to put everything in. And then because I also moved the category and um, the enter or the what does it say? It's so
Save.
small.
Save.
Oh, save input button. I moved those to the bottom, and so my thought was now when you put the copy in and it's like quite long, it would just keep going down within the gray box.
Mhm.
Versus in the first option I did, it did not sit in its own box and it would have just infinitely scrolled down. But then the category tab and then the save tab, I didn't know how those would function. Like maybe those would
Right.
roll on top.
Yeah, like fixed position. Yeah. Well, one thing that we could do, like these could be fixed essentially for the on the bottom, and even if it did keep going, it wouldn't go. There would almost be this like line where the text would, as you're scrolling down, would continue. So it'd basically be this, but without visual, right? Like a visual
Yeah.
cue. It would just be the text, and as you scroll, it would keep going, and still always have these buttons, these here.
Yeah.
Or another option could be like moving, keeping the save down here, but also like limiting the width of how that text actually goes over. So that save is all the way to this right kind of corner here fixed. And then the text only goes so far so that it doesn't feel like it's, being cut off. And this collection drop down could be up here, like in line, above with the title or something. So you type your title in, and then you select the collection, and then you add in the content. But yeah, there's a few ways that it could be kind of played with. Either way, I think functionality wise, it's
I
okay.
prefer it to have them on the bottom only because then like there's a limitation on the width of the copy,
Yeah.
which I feel like I don't know.
Well, so what I would do if we're going to keep this like input field on this text area with this background, is I would also add it to the title, because then it's kind of confusing that there's two different input styles, and it almost looks like type your title is like a header to this input or the label to the input instead of also being an input where you can edit. So I would think if you did it on both, then it would be, very consistent, and you would have like, oh, this is the style of what my input fields look like.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I would like to remove the gray box. I I I don't know. It just looked confusing for presentation, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can play with that. I think we can kind of figure out what we'd like there the most. So um, play around with background for inputs or not. Uh, just as a note for us to get back to, and then uh, since this is going to be like a selector, I would also just say like specifically here, just like down arrow instead of plus. So it'd be like collection with a little down arrow. I don't know how to do it. I'm just going to do a side arrow, but you know what I'm talking about. Like here's one for up. Basically, just because it'll let you know it's more of a selector. Because I almost think of add as like a button, like a submit of some kind.
Okay.
Now you're pinged in all the different places.
That.
Yeah. And then I would also say, like, this is a note I made before that we still kind of should think through. It's just like making this more obvious that these are clickable. So the little arrow to me feels like a little bit hard to read. But if it had text that looked like a link as well, so here we're using like this text link underline kind of style.
Yeah, we could do it. We could do that there.
Yeah, if it said like collections with the underline, then I would be like, oh, that's my link. Like this is how I open that.
I like that.
And it could also keep that arrow. It could say collections with the arrow. But yeah, just like kind of keeping that cohesive. So add collections link versus just arrow. So yeah, I think that would be cool. So now let's go to this, not that one, just kidding. We were just there. So to this one, and let's talk about this a little bit. So this is after, this is an example of what it would look like when you filled it out. But then here's an example of what that looks like if you expand it, right? So yeah, let's talk about this a little bit and the what you're thinking and what you.
So we were chatting about this a little bit before this video, and I think we have to find a solution for what like concept I was trying to do. So the reason why I have collections and subjects in different boxes is because I feel like as a user, something that would be important to me is being able to have like really like ease visually of an overview of everything that I put in. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't really want the only access point for the subjects to be only through the collection. So like I wanted also to see like what are all the subjects that I've inputted, just because that kind of puts me at ease. I feel like I can like see everything. Yeah. Because there's so much info. So what we were starting to discuss was maybe having both of these sit in one box, and then maybe having that link at the bottom that expands and shows you all your subjects, but that they would all sit in the collections box.
Right. So basically this collections would run like the whole length.
Yeah.
And it would have like science stuff, speeches to memorize, graphic design notes, as well as like somewhere on there also the ability to add a new collection. But like under or actually above, like right at the top, it could say, all like all subjects or view all subjects or something, where when you click that, instead of drilling down into each one, that then shows them.
The add category actually should also be on the top.
Yeah.
Because if you had like way more collections, you'd have to scroll down to add.
Yeah. I would even actually put it like over here where it's not like inline adding, but it's more like collections with a plus, and that would allow you to to add in one, and maybe when you hit that plus, you're filling it out and it just adds in when you hit enter. So it's kind of inline still, but like instead of it being added that way, you're starting with this like collections and then plus, and
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's sort of um, it's sort of figuring out. So like getting this idea is great. Like there's one question we want to answer for sure first, which is do we always want to force the user to put their subject into a category? So there could even just be a general category that they would all go into, which is just like all my subjects, right? Or something like that. And if you didn't select one, it automatically goes into that.
Like maybe that could be like always sitting at the top or something where it's like, well, oh, then that would be like the link then that we were talking about, like right underneath collections.
Yeah, except for there's you're talking about like this is the idea of like so say Dino Bones is inside of science stuff that so it has the collection of science stuff as well as like Crater Ages and science stuff, right?
Yeah.
And those both are you can click on this collection to view them. So I can almost see like we can still use these two colors and like these panels, but say collections is open this big, and you click on science stuff, and you know this is like yellow all the way down. When you click on science stuff, the whole thing moves over to open up subject. You know the subject's right next to it, so it's showing you which subjects are inside of the one you've selected, right? So science stuff is like indicated that you're selecting that, and then here's now all of Dino, you know, Crater Age, everything's showing up.
Expand
Yeah.
horizontally.
Yeah, this could move over and be wider now with subjects like, you know, instead of underneath it running like in a list, it's basically the same idea, but like science stuff would have a selection of some kind where you know you're on that, you know you've clicked it, right?
Does it bother you though that it expands out over the copy?
No, and the only reason is because at this point I'm not, you know, like I'm not doing anything with this stuff over here, right? This is solely separate from this. So say I probably wouldn't be like in the middle of adding something and then start navigating to my other things, right? So the reality of how I would use this is I would be probably on this page, which is just like cool. I've added my new thing in. Basically, when you click save after you added it, we would give you some sort of notification that says, "Great, it's been added," right? And then I'd be like, "Okay, cool. Actually, I want to look at my collections, or I want to look at my, you know, my subjects."
Yeah.
And then over this sort of empty field, like it doesn't bother me at all if this expands over it because this is what I'm really trying to do now, right? They're separate behaviors; they're not related. So clicking on science stuff, it could expand more, or we could easily just do science stuff, and that opens, you know, instead of horizontally, it's going down, and you're just reading like Dino Bones as a link underneath science stuff indented, right?
Yeah.
And then at the top of collections, we just have one that says like view all. It's sort of the idea of view all subjects, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless of like, you know, just view every subject in every collection.
So I'm imagining it expanding horizontally, then and removing the orange box.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like it's not like we need like a balancing point for the boxes because I was imagining taking away the orange box and then expanding the yellow one all the way down.
Yeah.
But then is that too long? Because then it would expand horizontally. Oh no, that's okay.
No,
So
I
it's
think
like
it'd
a
be
green
fine.
bar and a yellow bar.
Yeah.
And the yellow bar would shoot out.
Yeah.
And then you click on a category, and then an orange one would pop out.
It would push yellow all the way over with orange next to it. Yeah. It could be cool. It could look really cool. And
that would be nice.
Yeah, I think that could work. So the only kind of weirdness right now is like underneath collections, if we say view all subjects, that's like a little bit weird of a thing to be under collection. So it's more of like a collection that just has all of the subjects in it.
Yeah, it should function the same way as the other folders.
Yeah, it should, or it's like, or it's like at the bottom. Trying to think, or like at the top above. It's so because it's kind of like a little funky because it's like it's basically saying that every time you create a new subject, it's automatically added to that collection, the view all subjects collection, and if you put it to any other collection, right? So you create Dino Bones and it's in science stuff as well as in, view all my subjects.
Is it redundant?
Um, No, for the reason of like why you put this in the first place. It's if you just want to see all of your subjects, um, and just like look at that full list instead of going, oh, I don't remember if I put it in this category, in this collection or in that collection. You'd have to like click and open each one.
Would that
Um,
be the function though? Just trying to check what category it's in.
would you say? Repeat that.
Would that be the function though? Of like what would be the main function of view all subjects? Like, but I had prior thinking of like just wanting like a visual overview to feel at ease because there might be so much information in this. But I feel like if we were to create a folder with all the subjects in there, it's just starting to feel like maybe redundant.
Yeah, it is. I actually don't think it's necessary because basically you would have a collection that would we so there's two decisions to make. The first decision would be if we're forcing everything to belong to a collection, then they always have to have a collection that they create before they can add any notes, right?
Yeah.
Or we just create a generic one that's what everything gets added to, unless you make your own collection.
Um,
I think it. I think it works better to have a generic one that's just that says like all subjects, or not all subjects. It would be what would be the right term for that?
well, here was my thinking, and I mean, do you think that maybe subjects has a higher hierarchy than collections because like will people have folders where things will be so similar that they'll want to put it into the same folder?
Yeah, I think they would. So, and I don't think subjects is higher than collections because subjects belong to collections. Collections don't belong to subjects. Like a subject wouldn't. Well, maybe it goes both ways, but the collection being like the top sort of like folder structure, right? Uh, you could have a subject that belongs to two collections. That's where it would then get tricky. But the way that I kind of view viewing this, view using this for myself would be cool. I have a collection that's called work, and it has all of the stuff I'm doing in work. Um, and I actually could even see it getting more complicated where I'd want to have multiple like work collections, right? Where instead of just saying work, actually, if we're just kind of keeping this concept of like a single level, it would say like some specific project that I'm doing, like things that I'm trying to like learn or remember from it. So like right now I'm trying to get better at React, and here are things that I need to come back to like solidify in my memory things about React. So I could actually make a collection called React, and like there's multiple things I want to be reminded of within that. And each subject I would use by saying like, here's this concept within React that I want to solidify this. Like I want to memorize the syntax for this thing, or I want to come back to it continuously.
I see
Um,
that. I don't know how doable this is, but do you feel like a cool function for this site? I don't know if we could do this at all. A cool function for this site could be like there are input boxes that we designed so they would be essentially blank, and that you could let the user make their own organizational system. Is that appealing?
I think it could complicate something that doesn't need to be complicated here.
Okay.
Because basically, whatever way that you would be organizing things would be kind of like creating something that's similar to the concept of a collection, or just keeping them outside of collections. Like, I can't imagine how you would save these other than putting them into groupings or keeping them single. Is there any other option?
No, it's just so I was thinking, okay, when you first get this app and you have only like two or three things that you're trying to learn, I'm probably not going to put them into folders yet. Like it's going to be like further on. It depends on how you use it. Like you might use it where you need those folders immediately.
Right.
But then I'm a user that might just have like really random list of like only three or four things, and then I'll get stuck trying to categorize them if it's forced.
Right. So here, let's look at how this is done with Toby. So I think when you start this, these are all collections I've made. When you start it, it's just there's like a generic. Let's see, when I press the plus, it's like this. When you're coming in, you create the collection first.
Yeah.
But I think what we could do is just have like a a generic kind of collection that things are added into, and then you could add collections of your own and start organizing things. Like it like lets you know like this is how to structure it.
I think I like that option because it kind of works for both people, right? Like for me, you can just put all my stuff in that folder, and I'm essentially just like looking at my subjects without collection. But then if you want to just get started with folders, like there you are.
Right. So the question would be, does it literally stay like yellow all the way down that says collections with the plus, like add, like a little add button, and then
Yeah.
it says like the first thing is just, my collections, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then everything's automatically added to those. Or when you first get here and you haven't created a collection yet, it just says subjects with all the subjects listed out, and then some button to like add collection, which would then create this hierarchy.
Uh, I kind of feel like I prefer the way it is now.
Yeah, like keeping collections.
Yeah, because I'm aware of subjects because I'm inputting a subject right now, but I might not be aware of collections.
Right. So okay, so then the way we just have to come up with the right terminology that makes this make sense, right? So here's my subject, I'm entering it. There's this little like selector for collections. When I click on that, um, I basically see just one collection that says like whatever. It's like my it just says my collection, right?
Yeah.
And you select, and it's automatically selected anyway, and then you can save it. And in this little tab here, it is yellow all the way down, and it has like collections. You see that it's a link. So this whole time, like that you come in to add your first thing, you can see that as well. When you click on that to expand, it says collections, my collection, and then there's an add. And so you could add it ahead of time and go, oh, actually, let me add a new collection before I save this one, right? Or if you save it, it just goes into the My Collections tab. And then if you click that open, it'll just have all of the subjects that are within it, listed out.
Yeah.
Is it annoying to, let's see, So say you click on science stuff and it opens, and you click on Dino Bones.
Mhm.
What happens? This stays open and it opens up Dino Bones, or it closes and Dino Bones opens, and then
Yeah. It should close, right?
so
You don't close it.
it should close. But imagine how annoying it would be, like clicking on Dino Bones and now being like, okay, I want to get to Crater Age now, and going, okay, let me open collections again, open science stuff again, and now click on Crater Age.
So, okay. I want to come back to these boxes now. This is also why I was thinking, okay, like that's why subjects in its own box is kind of nice, because I was thinking of being like, you click on science stuff and then the subjects change down below in that box. It would become all science stuff. So you
Yeah.
have full access to both.
Right, but the issue is that science subjects and collections, they still look way the same when they're stacked like this.
Mm,
So when you click on science stuff, does that like highlight somehow, and then you know somehow that this stuff is, you can see it change, but like that those are in relationship to it, right? So either
yeah.
it needs to be listed under it, or some it needs to be like tucked away and then opened when you navigate to it, right? Because if it's just underneath.
I feel like the easiest solution is probably just like a drop down, like it just drops down and it stays down.
Yeah.
And then this window also stays open until you manually close it.
Right. Yeah, and then these work like a little toggle where when you click on science stuff, it drops down. If you click on it again, it closes.
Yeah. And then like if you click on science stuff and you don't close it again, you can like click on Dino Bones and then it'll show you Dino Bones and it'll show you like, I don't know, some other like Crater Age.
Yeah.
Save that folder. It's full access right there, it never goes away. But the thing on the left, the information on the left changes.
Yeah. I think that's what it should be. Even though like I like the idea of the multiple colors kind of interacting.
I'm looking, but
It's not like solid enough. Okay, so what I would actually do then is I'd swap out this save action button color, and I would say uh save button slash all action buttons should be orange. I would pull this color in because as a black button, it's less actionable. You know what I
okay.
mean? It doesn't feel quite as much of a button. Orange and red tones are always like in user experience like design. They're like there's been plenty of like tests with that of how they're actually it draws your eye to that button and whatnot. Um, we don't necessarily, if you do it and you don't like the way it looks, it can stay black, because this isn't the same thing as like a sign up button where we're trying to like get you to take this action. It's more of like you already want to take the action, but it's just like maybe it works well and you can pull that orange in still.
Yeah, we can try it.
I'll put a question mark. You can that it can go either way. And then yeah, let's move this up to the top and make it say like add new even, or just play with that a little bit. It's just about making sure that it's apparent to the user that you can click on that to add a new collection. It's always a fun balance between like making like spelling things out and then making sure and then still playing with like the aesthetic of things.
Yeah.
It's like you want it to look good, but you also really want the user to like understand what they're doing. And I'd say the same thing with like this being the close button up here to close this. It's a little bit like too small, hard to see, right? Like, and hard to click. Like playing with how you actually expand or close this to begin with.
Yeah.
And then yeah, let's take that note. I think this is a good solution. So get rid of subjects box. Subjects will now be under respective collection. And yeah, that'll just be drop down based on clicking open. the first collection that should be in there would just say like my collection or something.
Yeah.
And that'll be the one that's automatically there. And that's automatically what's selected in this drop down. So yeah, let's write that note here too of collection selector should have down arrow versus plus. And yeah, I think, let's see. So this is the new subject. So yeah, we have one more to look at. You have the open item design, which these are both the same. So wait, there's a slight difference. This just says new subject. I think this is the one you wanted to talk about, right? This is the main one.
Does it have a timestamp? It might be too close in time. I think this is fine. Yeah, so this is this window is this window is I think trying to fit it in the frame. So this window is when you have inputted all your information and it's ready to go. You get a reminder email or text message on your phone or wherever, and it leads you directly to this page to review the information that you're trying to memorize. So this is what we're looking at. The font that I'm using is one that Chelsea found that's called
Sans Forgetica.
Yeah. Which is ironic because I keep forgetting it. But she found this, and it's supposed to be a typeface that's harder to read and makes you remember.
Yeah, here, let's just look at that real quick. It's kind of a cool thing from RMIT University. Yeah, so it's a font that is scientifically designed to help you remember your study notes. They like intentionally took out parts of the letters because it's designed using the principles of cognitive psychology to help you better remember your study notes created by a multidisciplinary team. So yeah, it's a cool concept that they've come up with here for this because it basically forces you to like really have to think and use a different part of your brain in order to read it. What I would say though for this, here I'm going to make it full screen again, is that I feel like we need to just make it like larger text.
Oh, okay.
You know, larger text, and like we can play with the spacing a little bit, and then maybe I don't know if we want to handle. Essentially, all of that would just be inputted into that one field. So we would kind of just get this back. So I would just say larger text so it's a little easier to read.
Okay. I was also thinking in the settings, we should have an option for people who don't want to use this font.
Right. Or we could even have like a little toggle up here. So you can turn it on and off.
Yeah.
You know, toggle on and off. And forget the guy.
The only call out I have for that is so on the bottom there's the edit function.
Uh-huh.
When you go into the edit function, it would revert back to the original font so that you could type your stuff in and like delete whatever.
So we would do that on like a different screen than this. So when you clicked edit, like you would just hide those things.
Or like it would be like a window within the frame.
Yeah, well, it would essentially go back to looking. Where are we? Like to this, right? Like where you have the ability to use this drop down. So it would switch. And I was going to kind of point this out too. I feel like because we have, so you have the title here and the copy underneath, and then this is like more of like the header for the actual page, you know, new subject. We should keep that consistent here, and it should say like up here, instead of the actual title, it should say like subject or something like that, you know what I mean? And then the title should be in the same spot that it is down here with the text. I'm just trying to think of like,
so it's like subject on top and then dinosaur bones just above the copy.
Yeah, so that it keeps that same format style.
Yeah.
Well, that might be wrong. This might be nice to like, because you're making a new subject and now you're opening dinosaur bones. Actually, I take that back. I think it's nicer here versus like always having it say like subject at the top.
Is it clear? It's clear.
I think it's clear. I think that's fine. What I would do though is what we were saying before. So this shouldn't be like a selector right now, right? This should be just indicate which collection it's in, which collection. So like it's not going to be like a selector, but it would just say like whatever the name of the like collection colon this the collection that this dinosaur bones is in. So like science notes.
Wait, so what do you mean? Like it's not a drop down menu?
No, so why would it be a drop down menu here?
Because I'm thinking if you wanted to edit this, that maybe you'd also want to edit the collection that it's in.
Right, but the edit screen would be a totally different screen than this one. This would be like, this is the view, right? So this is you reading and viewing the information, and when you click edit, then these things become editable again.
Okay, so when you click on that, are you imagining like how does that function
I don't imagine that you click on it. I imagine it being more of like the way that you have dinosaur bones written and not editable right here. It would just say like what collection dinosaur bones is in. So it could even have like, you know, like it should just be the name of the actual collection.
Oh, no. I meant like how do you imagine the function being when you are trying to edit it?
Oh, just like that.
Wait, so like you click on edit and then what would happen?
When you click this edit button, you would go back to the same function here where you're able to edit the title, edit this, select a different collection, and then click save again.
But like how would that function? Like that's what I couldn't imagine. It was like, would that load a new page? Like what would be the reality of that? Like you would click it and then the page would like reload real quick into this one.
Yeah, you'd go back and forth. So first it would be displaying, then you click edit, you make the changes and you save it, and then you're just on that displayed again on dinosaur bones again.
Okay.
But what I would even do is change that edit button. Let's see. I mean, yeah, you kind of have it right here, right? Where instead of new subject, you could say edit subject, right? So when you click the edit button, it comes back into this, and you can select different. Say you want to change the collection it's in, select a different collection, edit the copy if you wanted to. When you click save, that brings you back to the view of it, which is just dinosaur bones with the text and the ability to edit it again or just see the collection it's in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
No, that makes sense.
Cool.
So there would be basically like 3 different uh, 3 different frames. So it's like you would have subject where it's like blank and you could input your copy, and then uh, there would be the edit version. So it would say edit subject,
Yeah.
the same frame, and then the third one would just be
Viewing.
the subject.
Yeah.
And then
but of course, the way that we build it would be kind of cool because it can just be in components where it's like not refreshing the page every time you click something,
yeah,
just refreshing the component. So basically, this field would go from being text field that you're reading to being an editable. Like now you can edit it. And that's why I was thinking of like instead of it being like a large edit button like this, it could be like a smaller kind of like link or something here, something of a different style because this isn't the main action anymore.
yeah,
You basically want to have these two functions, edit and then also edit / delete. And what you'd want to be able to do is just like that's smaller, less, noticeable or whatever. But you can click on either edit or delete here, and that would essentially bring you back, or the delete would like give you like, hey, are you sure you want to delete this kind of a thing?
yeah.
And what you could even do is this collection could stay down here, or it could be like indicated up here or something, right? So because it's now like a little bit of a different layout. Either way, though, it's like not an actionable thing. It's just like telling you the collection you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of like that at the top only for this one because it is a different page. And it's kind of nice to signify that it is a different page.
Right. So you could have, dinosaur bones, and then this like toggle the text, and you can have like the collection could be like up here in line with like, dinosaur bones, or even just right here next to it where it's like smaller and some kind of visual indication of like dinosaur bones in, it could say like in science, whatever. What was that called? Science.
I guess science stuff.
In science stuff, right? So it's just an indication of like dinosaur bones and science stuff, like in some different kind of, so that you can see what that looks like.
Right.
And then it's like not down here at all, and then you just have the text that you can toggle between, and making this a little bit bigger, and then a little bit more line height, maybe even. And then edit and delete could even be just like down here, or you could just have this text running all the way down, and you could even put it like underneath this as like text links.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could really be anywhere. I'm just trying to think like, just put question mark. Like something, or like over here in this corner, and like if you've got this toggle thing, you could have like over here, like little buttons or something, because it's like you're not really taking that action as frequently. But maybe you could just like play around with all of that, like with this in mind of like the intention of the page.
Yeah.
And then I think that's like the basic functionality that we need, right? So it's like you've signed up, you've created an account. The first time you come into your account, you're seeing this page first.
Yeah.
You're going, okay, like let me type in the title, type in the copy. We might want to like create just for the first time some kind of like tutorial type of a thing where it's like in line. It could say like give an example of like what you would literally put in here. So like the copy for both of these would have like a fake example, and then just as the placeholder for the inputs. And then the collection would already be selected, so you could just basically like get an idea. Oh, okay, let me add that and save it. And then the only other thing that I'm just noticing now or remembering is when you have one of these open, what you want is some sort of indication of where you are in this cycle. So like maybe up here, like in this place, we have like like a visual indication of what repetition you're on, right? And so that goes back to the wireframe where, whoa, it's huge. Um, where we're saying like you're at this stage of the 5 repetitions, the 5 times we're going to message you.
Could you screen grab that?
Yeah, I'll send you this whole PDF again because I think it's got like all of those elements
Yeah.
in it that you would want. But yeah, basically it's some indication of the repetition you're on, and maybe even like the date that each you can like tap, go to each one of these somehow and see like the date that you're going to be like the second time they're going to message you, we're going to message you is on this date. Because that would be information we'd have up front. So when you create a new note and you're like looking at it, you would see like this is tomorrow. This would have like the 18th, right?
Yeah.
First repetition on the 18th, second repetition 3 days after that, third repetition a week after that, or whatever that actual schedule is based on that forgetting curve. But yeah, like something kind of cool and visual, and then we can play with like pulling in more of that idea of the encyclopedia feel up there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's add that comment. And we can also like for now, like I think if we make this bigger, this toggle sort of like a secondary feature, but we can at least put it like design wise, like add that right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I really like this. It's going to be fun to build. So part of this is something that we should probably say for the YouTube channel specifically. We are not actually by the end of this month going to have this built out because I had to end up doing a different project for my class, so I couldn't kind of match up the timing and energy. But I do really want to build this, so I'm going to be doing it later. So by next video, what we'll end up presenting is like a little bit more of a polished design, and most likely we can take that, I'll take that polished design and we can throw it into either Flinto or actually not Flinto, that's for mobile. In Sketch, there's also the ability to kind of show movement and connect things, so we can just kind of run through like how it would work. And that'll probably be what we're presenting next video. But yeah, is there anything else you wanted to add, Teresa?
No, I think that's it.
Cool. All right. Well, we will see you next time. And that is it for this video. Oh, wait. Wrong tab. Oh, yeah. I have it open down here, don't I? Maybe bye.
Bye.
Here we go.
Bye.
Ah!